Hey Pacific Tigers fans, your athletic director Adam Tschuor here with you with the first installment of our previously announced Q&A series. We'll all be taking questions in from our alums and donors with their burning questions of what's going on with the Tigers, what's going on in college sports and around the country. Thank you all for your initial questions. Really look forward to debuting these here at the end of every month. In the future, if you guys want me to give you a shout out, who you are, where you're from, and if you were alum, what year you are, happy to do so. Just make sure you acknowledge that in the future, so I'm sure I'm speaking appropriately. But with that, we'll go ahead and get into the questions. The House settlement was born out of necessity. The damages that could have come if it went to trial in the NCAA and the plaintiffs lost was upwards of $21 billion. All athletic departments in the country, total operating budgets of $17 billion. It would have literally bankrupted college sports. So a settlement was bound to happen. I think the parameters that came from it, there were certainly good outside the bat, but necessity is also a good word in how it was presented to us. And there was implied threat, certainly from the power conferences to schools like Pacific in the 28 other non-plaintiff conferences, that, hey, if you guys don't agree to this, if you don't join with us in this, take part in the damages, we're just going to take our ball and go home. We're not going to play you guys anymore. And that would have destroyed the fabric of college sports as we know it. March Madness goes away as we know it. And that was certainly something we weren't going to risk. So we did join with it. There were, as it was presented to us, plenty of good that was coming from it. In terms of vetting third-party collective deals that were really getting obscene and polluting the landscape. Certain things of, cap management systems, the roster caps were a loop, but at the end of the day, we need some kind of cap somewhere. Scholarships, rosters, something to ensure equity across the board. So there were positives, but there were also plenty of negatives. I think the biggest thing at this point has been it's hard to say how the House settlement has affected. We have opted in to the House settlement. We have worked very diligently to ensure that our basketball programs are going to be nationally competitive in this new rev share landscape. We have plenty of other programs that have robust enhancement support around them, like our men's golf program, our water polo programs, men's and women's tennis, women's volleyball, baseball. That yes, that's just going to be another tool in our tool bag, and we'll decide how we want to attack that landscape. Where is there more value in signing bonuses or bonus structures, additional scholarships? We need all the support we can get. We need continued support from our donors and fans to be competitive in those spaces. But we are going to be competitive in those spaces. Why do I say it's still difficult to say? Unfortunately, the goalpost keeps moving on us. We now have this entity called the College Sports Commission that we have to take marching orders from that was not originally presented to us as anything other than a facilitator of these new of monitoring and managing these new benefits. This is some organization that we know nothing about by and large. We know it's a for-profit company. Don't know who owns it. Seemingly the Power Four conferences own it. Could be private equity. Who knows? They won't disclose it. The roster caps. We have no idea where those caps came from. Where do they pull these numbers? 19 for beach volleyball. Makes no sense. They play in pairs. Why do we have an odd number? There's a lot of questions and no one's really willing to answer. And the biggest one, and this also came from the College Sports Commission, they completely moved the narrative of third-party collective deals being vetted for their fair market value. That basically went away. They pivoted from that in July because the attorneys, in the House settlement said, no, we never agreed to this. And the College Sports Commission came out and said, well, what we did. And then a day later said, fine, we'll go ahead and view these just like any legit business deal that exists. Virtually all these deals are going to get approved now, is how it's been explained to us. And so what we came out of it thinking there's going to be some leveling of the playing field, some kind of cap, knowing full well that those schools have more resources and they're just going to have more to offer. And that's fine. But it's gotten so jarring that that was a big benefit, and now it's completely gone. And so for us moving forward, it'll be interesting to see how this off season goes. Time will tell, but possibly only federal intervention at this point will kind of get ourselves back to a place of sanity, so to speak. So more to come on how the House settlement is affecting Pacific. May 24th of 2024, we got to work right away. Two things are very apparent to me. One was that we were going to have to opt into this new world if we were going to stay as a relevant Division I athletics program, especially in basketball. And two, that the roster caps were going to be an issue. Like most private institutions, our institution, the department itself, we rely on net tuition revenue. We bring bodies to help enrollment for this university. We're on the verge of a very tumultuous time in higher education. I like to consider myself as much a higher ed professional as I do a sports professional. I think our business would be better served if more athletic directors took some heat off of that and turned their attention to some of these bigger issues. We're a drop in the bucket of higher ed. $17 billion a year industry versus a $700 billion a year industry. And enrollment every year over the next decade is going to decline precipitously because there's just not going to be enough 18-year-olds to go around. Between now and 2035, there will be 1 million less 18-year-olds to service 4,000 colleges and universities in the United States. Not enough kids, too many schools. So you're going to see a lot of schools close. You're already starting to see a lot of schools close. And so because of that, knowing and understanding that reality, I knew that if we were going to opt in and abiding by these roster caps, we just did the quick math on it right after that day, that we were going to lose 33 athletes. That was going to be a 7-figure loss for the university, and that was going to be a problem. Not a problem necessarily for athletics, but again, we're a part of a much larger ecosystem, and we enjoy a fruitful partnership. We're not a siloed athletic department, and we took that very seriously. So we had to come up with a way with which we could opt in to this new reality and also meet the challenges of roster caps. And for us, the only real practical way to do that was with adding sports. But how do you add sports that's not done in a way that's going to be a budget drain, that doesn't impact that net tuition revenue that I was just talking about? So we commissioned a 17-sport study. We looked at a variety of different sports. And yeah, there were certain sports that just didn't make sense because they cost too much money. Football is a question. I know probably a burning question I've gotten a lot from alums when we announced that we were looking at this, and certainly after we announced the addition of new sports. And even under the rosiest of circumstances in a Pioneer Football League situation with no scholarship, it was still going to come to a net negative to our bottom line and supporting our other existing programs. And that reality hasn't changed since the program was disbanded in 1995. So, we focused initially here on sports that were going to come with a lower initial expense. Certainly men's cross country, men's track and field, reinvesting in the field aspects of our women's track and field program, bringing back our diving programs, partly because some of these were already existing entities with either on the women's side or that we had them at one point, but also they just require less gear, less travel, less facilities needs, and made them more practical for our needs, especially in this first phase of adding sports. We don't plan on stopping. We plan on keeping going and growing this athletic department. And so once we did the financial analysis and made that cost-benefit analysis to campus, entered into a creative partnership with President Callahan, James Walsh, our CFO, Chris Ferguson, our VP for enrollment. It was a real team effort to make this happen, and it's been a great benefit for every facet of this institution. That's why we're going to keep doing this. Another part was this university is on the up and up. It is growing, it is expanding, it is doing such positive things. And the idea that we were going to meet this challenge like every other headline that we were seeing, and that was by cutting sports, by taking scholarships away from non-revenue sports to pay football and basketball players, and eliminating staff. The idea of meeting the challenge of the House settlement and opting in to those extra benefits by cutting back by attrition, it was anathema to our mission here at Pacific right now, which is one of growth. It's one of opportunity. And so for us to be able to come up with something that truly provided those opportunities. I was a student athlete. At the end of the day, I do this because I believe our end product are the young men and women, pointing at Spanos, our arena behind us where we had graduation, the young men and women that walk across that stage with the diploma, that's our end product. Everybody tends to focus obviously on the stuff we produce, the stuff you see on TV, the stuff we stream, the tickets we sell, the corporate partnership packages, the money we raise to build these buildings, and now we're paying the athletes. People tend to focus on that. That to me is not the end product. The end product is that we produce some of the most outstanding young men and women for companies to hire, to be community members, to be partners, mothers, fathers. They're just, to me, some of the most outstanding people our society can produce, and that's worth investing in. All the ugly headlines and all the chaos that's out there, all that aside, and it's been distasteful. I hear from you all the time how much you don't like where we're at right now as an industry. I'm right there with you, but those kids are still worth investing in. Those employers are still clamoring to hire our kids. We still see what those young men and women do in our communities once they leave here. It's still worth investing in, and that means more opportunities, not less. And so I've seen some other schools that have caught on, a couple in our own league even. St. Mary's just recently announced that they're adding aquatics programs, which I think is great. If there are any peers out there, any presidents listening, again, this is for Pacific fans, our alums and our donors. So this is for you, but if there's anybody else listening, I hope you consider going down that path and not eliminating opportunities. College athletics has put more young men and women through college for free, only second to the GI Bill. It's a good thing that we're still doing, all the nuttiness and headlines aside. Oh man, who asked this question? No, that's thank you for that. Yeah, 2 years in, man, time flies. I'm not satisfied. Obviously where we're at, I feel like we've made a lot of improvement. I don't know. I give myself a C+, B-. President Callahan, if you're listening, it's A+. Don't disregard what I just said. No, but I'd give it a solid B-, C+ range. We've done a lot of great things here so far. I think that year one, we made a lot of programmatic change. There was a lot of stuff going on to get programs where we needed them to be. We've raised a lot of money. We had a record fundraising year in athletics in our history last year. With that, getting our budgets to a more competitive space, we saw a lot of things we had not seen in quite a while, certainly since before COVID. And I mean, multiple conference championships in a year. First at-large bid to an NCAA tournament since before COVID. Our first WCC title since rejoining the league in 2013. That was a big thing, that a bellwether for us that we knew we had to ring because, that became a bit of an albatross for us. We rejoined the league in 2013, and we hadn't won a single WCC title. What's that about? We gotta break through there. We did that last year. So, looking at the Commissioner's Cup, we finished 4th on the men's side. Highest we've ever finished was 7th, and we've been finishing 8th, 9th, 10th, in the years before that, 4th. That was an exponential jump in the quality of our athletics programs. Need to see that continuing to rise, need to see more championships, need to see more winning. And not for me, and want it for you guys, but I want it more so for our athletes. They're the ones, when you talk to them at the end of the year, and if they had a rough year, you see the effect it has on them. It is a huge net detriment to them and their experience. I want it for them more than anything. And I've also seen in places I've been in my career of what a championship caliber athletics department can do for a community. I saw what it did for us at Dayton. Going back to my student athlete experience at Creighton. Again, very similar institutions to Pacific. I see what those things can do, and I want to do that for Stockton. My family's loved it here so far. It's been a great experience, and now that we got a lot of that busy work, again, it took a lot of hours, a lot of effort to do it right, working with the right people, collaborative with campus, and finding the right staff, finding the right coaches, getting the right plans drawn up, getting the right resources for those programs and for those plans. Now that we have a lot of that groundwork laid, now it's time to kind of kick it into high gear and really springboard off of it So you all out there will see a lot more of me now that a lot of that busy work's done. I'm gonna be able to get out there more and friend raise and steward and be out there with you all. So get used to seeing a lot more of me out there. This is going to be a big year for the Tigers. Super excited for it, and super excited for this Q&A series. This is a great new feature that we're going to do to give our fans, our hungry fans, some insight into what's going on with the Tigers. Tiger fans, thank you all for the great questions. Keep them coming in. In the future, if you'd like me to give you an acknowledgement or a shout out, please do so. And I'll make sure you're included in our next feature. Really look forward to seeing these questions as they continue coming in. And with that, until next time, go Tigers.